Hey guys, so we're back. We're gonna do another install. It's been a little while. I think we did our original video back in October, and we just had a ton of issues with supply chains and equipment, but there's a lot of interest around these cluster kits, these faceplate overlays, and I think we have like 600 people on a waiting list, so we're pretty excited. We've got these things now dialed into a point where making them, we've got that process kind of finalized, and production seemed to level out a little bit in terms of how complicated it is to actually make these things. So with that being said, we're gonna install this. Once again, we'll show you guys some cool updates for these trucks. Really take your time, watch the video while you're doing it step by step. It can be a little bit overwhelming if you're not used to taking a bunch of stuff apart, but I can assure you if you follow this video, it's gonna be super easy. So that being said, some of the tools you're gonna need: a little razor blade, little trim tool, a little hook tool is handy. This is a 732 socket, a T10, 15, and 20 Torx, flatheads, some ISO, a couple rags. So that's all you're gonna need to do this thing start to finish. I just wanna know, if you guys haven't purchased upgraded LED bulbs, super important. These things are ultra bright and is really gonna make a big difference when installing our kit. So if you notice all the pictures on our website, when you're actually looking at the products, everything's illuminated with these bulbs, okay? These bulbs are super reliable and super, super bright. So when you open the box, you're gonna have the actual faceplate. You're gonna have some of these sticky dots. These things fit really well, and you really don't need anything sticky holding them on. But for some of you guys, you might just like the peace of mind having that. It also gives us the option to adjust them. So it's not a permanent solution. This is all 100% reversible. And then we have the gear indicator. So if you have a manual, we just included a modern plate. And obviously for automatics, you have your gear indicators here. And then you have your HVAC controls. We include a couple more sticky dots in there. And then finally, what we've now included are these alignment pins, these little black pins to actually align the cluster to the housing, as well as the 3 knob inserts, those clear plastic inserts for the HVAC control. So that's what's included. So we'll jump in the truck, we'll start taking it apart, and we'll get the new one installed. Okay, so first things first is we got to get this beast out of the way. If you guys have something similar, I know a lot of you guys have been starting to install these doubled ins, but we're gonna have to pop that out. Just set that up here. And then you're gonna wanna put the emergency brake on, because we're gonna be playing with this, and if you guys are doing this in your driveway, better safe than sorry. So get the key ready, and we're just gonna pop out these trim pieces. And just be careful. Obviously, you guys know, if you guys work on your trucks and have taken the stuff apart, they're super brittle. But there's one on each side. And then there's this long guy, and you can see actually our buddy accidentally dropped this piece and it broke. And so let us know if you think we should be making these, because nobody makes them. So if there's enough interest, maybe we'll explore making these guys. So we'll get that guy off. And then on the other side, there's another one. We're gonna pop that off. There's lots of videos online on how to take these off. We'll see if we can find a clip, because mine isn't obviously the factory ones. But for mine, I'm just gonna pull this out, and then I just have a little set screw. But there's lots of videos on YouTube on how to just remove these little guys on a stock knob. I'm gonna push that back in. So we've got a T20, I believe. So the T20 screws, there's 2, 1 on each side. I just want to note, for diesels, you guys have your start light indicators here. We do include those for diesels. Obviously this isn't a diesel and we don't have a diesel, but we modeled it after the factory part, so it should fit fine. You guys are gonna have to do a little tinkering on removing the old one and putting the new one in. If there are bulbs back there, definitely replace them. I know with our LED bulb upgrade, we include a couple extra bulbs. And so you probably want to change those ones out as well, but we do have a new faceplate here that looks really good. So with that done, there's also 2 screws. I like to take this panel off. There's 2 screws so again, put your emergency brake on, especially if you're on your driveway doing this. I'm just gonna turn the key and bring the shifter down. And you'll also notice here, if you look at the park, you can see it's not really aligned with park. And drive, it's not aligned. So we'll show you guys how to adjust that and to move and tighten up your needle spacing so everything is aligned. But anyways, we're gonna pull that down and we're just gonna pop this guy out. There's just a couple clips up top. And then be careful, because if you have front rear fuel tanks, there's a switch there. So I'm just gonna move this out to the side, lay this down, and you can see back here we've got a clip. The clip is right here, so I'm just going to take the little pry tool. Again, these things like to break as well, so just be really careful. And I'm just going to pry in there and pull it out like that. This piece comes off. And then this guy, I'm also just gonna pop out just a couple clips at the top here. Just like that. Okay, so turn the key off. And whether you're at this point or earlier on, you should start the truck. Start the truck and take a picture of where your fuel level is, how everything's sitting, just as a reference. And then when we go to actually take the needles off, put the new faceplate on, before putting everything back together, you guys should install it and take it for a drive. Get your needles adjusted, because nothing's worse than taking everything apart to find out your needles are in the wrong spot. But again, actually turn the truck over, take a picture of how everything's laying before you go any further. The next piece here, first I'm gonna loosen this guy off, and that should create a little slack. So this guy comes off, and you can see this guy is hooked on there. So all I'm gonna do is come around, and again, be careful, don't force this. These things are pretty fragile, and I'm just gonna slide it over the little nub. That little hook is hooked onto this little piece there, and that's what controls the needle on the gear indicator. So just be really gentle with that guy, fish it around, make sure it's free. So once that's done, there's 4 screws, one here and one here, and then one here and one here. So 4 total. We're just gonna take those out. All right, so with that done, you're gonna slide this bottom, and you're kind of gonna put it down on its side, angle it up, and there's three plugs. It'll be easier once you get them out, but you just pinch them together and they pull out. There's one there, there's a small one here, and then there's one on the other side. Okay. And then this just slides out and we're free. So we're gonna go to the table, show you guys how to take this apart. So I know a lot of you guys have concerns about needle alignment when replacing the faceplate, and so I'm gonna just show you guys the best way to go about doing this. So once you got your cluster apart, or even before the install, you're gonna wanna take 3 pictures before taking any needles off. The first picture is just with the key completely off. What position are you in? Because it changes and varies between on, off, and accessory. So the first picture is with everything off. So we're going to turn the truck onto accessory, and you can see the speedometer needle jumped. Some of these might jump a little bit, like the fuel is actually coming down. And just to show you, like rear fuel tank. So it is kind of a good idea to have the fuel on, whether it's full, you know, fill up the truck. So I know my rear fuel tank is full, and you can see that that's where it sits. And then I'm going to turn the truck over, so I'll take a picture of the accessory. And again, just notice the speedometer, it raised just a hair above where it was resting. And then when I turn the truck over, so with the truck turned over, I'm gonna take another picture. And you can see that these have moved. Obviously the truck is cold, so don't do this if the truck is hot, because by the time you're done installing everything, the truck will be cold again. I can kind of get an idea of where my RPMs are. Speedometer hasn't changed, but it is raised just a hair above this little marker. So we'll turn the truck off, and you can see even the fuel's moved from when it's on to when it's just an accessory or off. So now I'm going to show you how to pop those needles out. So we have these bolts out already, but we're going to first take out these little pins. You might have 4 or 3 depending on the year of your truck. And then what you can do is you can use 2 spoons. I'm just going to use 2 little pry tools, and you're going to want to put them one on each side. Put your finger over it and push down evenly, and it will just pop them off. And so this is probably easier to do once you got your pictures. Pull the cluster out completely, but we can show you another one here. And we're just gonna pop them right off, just like that. These ones are a little bit hard to get to, so you would take them out again, but this one's a little more on. And again, you just want to push down evenly, and then it pops off. So we're gonna go ahead, put the new faceplate in, and then we'll show you how to put the needles back on. Okay guys, so we got everything in, and now's a good time again just to check for your bulbs, make sure everything's illuminating right, and that you don't need to reverse the polarity on any bulbs. And before you go crazy and install everything, you're kind of just, once you remove the old stuff, you're just gonna do a dry run, and we're gonna put the plugs back in. So we got one here, we got one here, and we got one here. Now, what I like to do is I like to turn the key to the accessory and then turn it back down. And we know that the tack was resting on that plug, just like so. The speedometer was up. It just raised off that just a hair. So it just takes a little bit of playing with. Just like that right there is good. So just raise just a hair off that plug. Put the cap back on. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the key on to finish these 3, because I know the position of those when they were on. And again, just reference your pictures. So we'll turn the truck over. And again, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, this was actually sitting right about there, at about 1500. I'll turn it off. I was sitting actually a little bit lower. Looking at my picture, a little lower. So it was sitting about there. Truck off. There we go, so that's just right. And then the fuel was all the way to the right. So I'm just gonna make sure that I'm positioning this as far over. I'm gonna switch to the other fuel tank. And again, I'm just referencing the pictures that I took. So it wasn't quite empty, so this might be sitting a little forward. So this has to come over just, it was all the way over. Now we go to the rear fuel tank. Perfect, so now this was on cold obviously, and it was past that little tick. It's like so. Oil pressure here, and then the battery was about in the middle. It's about there. So now I'm just going to turn the truck off. Fuel does move a little bit. Turn it back to accessory, and then we'll turn it on again. So yeah, you can kind of see here in the picture where the speedometer or the tach was, the speedometer, the normal, the oil pressure, cold, so cold, and it might be getting a little bit warm now because we just started it a few times. And then the fuel can be adjusted just a hair more, I think. This is good to do, like obviously my truck was filled. There we go, that's good. But like if you're on half a tank, then it's a lot easier if you've run the truck to about half a tank or to any one of these ticks as a better reference than it just being full. But if I'm looking at my picture and I'm looking at this, it's looking all really good. So you can go just push everything down. You're not looking for anything to click. You're just pushing them down just to make sure they're on. And push straight down. Just like so. And it's okay if you move it, because it's obviously going to go back. And that's it. So that's all you have to do. It's not as terrifying as you might think. Another good thing you can do before you put everything back together, take it for a little drive, make sure your speedometer is accurate, make any little micro adjustments you need. But at the end of the day, as long as it's really close, a lot of these things like oil pressure and things are just a reference. It's not telling you true oil pressure. I think it's when it sends 15 pounds of pressure, then it moves it. So nothing crazy. You're again, like your tach and stuff, that you can adjust. And as long as it's really close, obviously the most important one is probably fuel, speedometer. Your cold's gonna be good. So take it for a drive around the block, let it heat up, make sure everything's reading the way it's supposed to be. But yeah, it's not a crazy thing. You guys don't need to worry about, will my needles be on? As long as you take good references, good pictures, off, accessory, and on, you guys will be fine. All right, so first thing is the lens. You guys, again, you might want to just give this a good polish, sand her down a little bit, polish it up. Drop in the comments if you think we should put together a little polishing kit for these. Because it makes a big difference. You can see how scratched up this guy is. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. So this guy just comes off. And then for this housing, there's 2 screws here, and these were T10. And then this housing comes off, give it a good clean, wash it down. And then again, with the cluster lens, let us know if you guys think we should put together a little kit or a tutorial on how to polish those out. So with that all opened up, next thing is removing these little pins. Don't lose these. You're definitely gonna need them, and they just pop straight up. And there's, for an XLT anyways for this year, there's 3 of them. And then we come back to the actual needles. Some guys use 2 spoons and kind of pop them out. Just be gentle. But you can kind of get under them, pop them out like that. Sometimes these little caps fall off. Okay, next piece, there's 2 of these screws. These are the 7/32 screws. And this guy just slides out. And then for these guys, really, we can just pull off. It's just old glue that's holding these on. Some of these, lots of times I've seen them where they just come right off. This one's been removed so many times that we just have a couple sticky dots, but they just come right off. Okay, so that's off. You can come in here and take some ISO and a rag and just really clean up the panels. And how the panels come out, it's usually the right and lefts come out before the middle comes out, and they just pull straight up. I'll move these to the side here for now. So again, you guys are definitely going to want to do the bulb upgrade. Now, these are the warning indicators. And so when you go to install the new bulbs, if you have a battery icon, so this guy here has a battery icon, it's the second slot in, I'm going to leave the factory bulb in there. We've seen and have heard of guys that put LEDs in here, and it actually makes it so the alternator doesn't charge. So if you're pretty cautious, I would leave those alone. Even the turn signals and things, I typically leave those ones alone, and I put in the LEDs on everything else. So I'm just gonna pull these bulbs out. You can pull them out right from here, or on the back end, you can twist them out, pull them out that way. So it's up to you, whatever's easiest. So XLTs, XLs, they all have different number of bulbs that the cluster takes. But for demonstration purposes, we're just going to change the main illumination bulbs. Now these things have polarity to them, so now that this is in here, I'm going to take it back into the truck, plug it in, make sure all the bulbs are illuminating. If you find that there's one that isn't, you just got to pop the bulb out and turn it around and put it back in, and that should work for you. So let's go back in the truck, we'll plug this in quick, make sure the lights everything's illuminating right, and then we'll jump back and get the cluster installed. All right, so again, anytime you go to put this in, you're gonna put the top in first, then you're gonna plug everything in. So let's turn this around. I'm gonna put the two plugs in, and I'm just gonna turn it on. See how bright those guys are? It's crazy. So everything works. I'm gonna turn the lights back off, take it back out, knowing that bulbs are all in the right place. All right, okay, so bulbs are in the right place. Now, a lot of you guys on the actual computer, on the mileage reader, this illuminates green. And so I'm gonna show you guys, and be really, really careful. Watch this a couple times before you go to do it, because you only got one shot at this. And so we're gonna take this apart, and we're gonna show you how to actually scrape that green off. So you're gonna flip this guy around, be really careful with these things. There's a couple little screws here that we're gonna pop off, and there's a couple more, 3 up top, and these are T10 screws. All right, so these T10 screws, got one here. Just be really, really careful when you're doing this. So that's the third one. And you can just be gentle, just slowly pulling that off. Now obviously there's a cable here, so I'm just gonna lay it face down like that, and then I'm gonna take these guys off. And realistically, you can just loosen, there's 2 screws here. I'm just gonna loosen them off a little bit, and then I'm gonna take these 2 off. Okay, so this plastic piece just comes out, and then there's the screen. And so you can see that this is all green. And this is the scary part. So be very, very gentle, okay? And take a fresh razor blade. And what we want to do is we want to scrape it. You do not want to go up and down. You want to scrape side to side and be really gentle. You know, it's better to do less force because you're just trying to get the little bit of green off. You don't need to be digging into this thing. But basically, you're just gonna slowly take your time. And you see how that's coming off? You do not want to dig down past the white. And just go slow. It'll take some time, but you're better to take less than too much, that's for sure. Don't want to wreck that screen. You're kind of just using the corner of the blade, just up at a little bit of an angle. So that's what it's going to look like. So, finish this off here. So that's looking pretty good. It's a little bit more. So you just be really gentle. And I'll leave in the description a gentleman who actually fixes these gauges. So if you guys have one that looks cracked, and it looks like there's black seeping in and it doesn't look right, he can help you guys fix these things. So I'll leave his contact info in the description of this video. So that's what that looks like. So now we're just gonna clean up a little bit here and put this thing back together. All right, so we'll grab this guy back. And so this little foam pad should be facing you. The plug should be facing down. And this guy sits right in here. And then we're gonna get this piece, and this kind of just slides under this housing. And just, again, be gentle, shimmy it in there. And those will rest like that. And then we're just gonna get a couple of the screws started, make sure everything's lined up the way we want it. Okay, so we're just gonna flip this over. See, make sure the screen is seated properly. And if it looks good, we can tighten this guy back down. Again, you just need to snug it up. You don't need to be reefing on these. And just snug it up. Okay. And while you're in here, you know, if it's really dusty, blow it out, clean it up a little bit. So now there's these 4 pins we're gonna align these 4 holes to. Just like so. Okay, just like that, snug. And then we're gonna put these little screws back in. Again, be very gentle. Just get them started. Oh, that was the scariest part of this whole thing. If you guys wanna go that route, there's really no other way around it. If you want that uniformed look, and just snug them up. Okay. So there it is. And so again, you guys, before we go to putting everything back, clean up all this glue. Just use a little bit of ISO in the towel, clean it up really nice, and then you guys should be ready to install. So same thing with the housing. You know, while everything's apart, blow it out, clean it up. And so the first gauge that goes back in is the speedo, and then we're gonna do, for us anyways, it's this guy. This guy, and then this guy, just like that. And now it's time to put on the cluster of the faceplate. So you grab the new faceplate, just gonna go on like so. And then what I like to do first is grab your little pins, put those back. And then we give you guys these little alignment pins. We include 4. If you have an XL, for example, you only got 3 slots, but they literally just push in here, just like that. And this literally will guarantee everything's aligned perfectly. Obviously from stock, things drooped and sagged, and just kind of get it started there. Push it in. So I'm just gonna do 3, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. Just like that. So everything looks good. And then we look at the gear indicators. So these things typically just come off. I know some of the years it's a little bit different in terms of how they actually stick the stuff on. But this will literally just pop off, comes off, and then you can grab the new one. And this is where you're gonna need a sticky dot or 2. Typically, I'll just cut one in half. Or you could use a little bit of glue, but I prefer the removable option myself. And you'll notice, like on the clusters, these things fit really nice. So once you got the needles on, like you could literally put 1 sticky dot here and 1 on this corner, because this is all held down really nice. So you could just put 1 of those in each corner, again for peace of mind. And I'm just gonna cut 1 of these sticky dots in half. So these are a little harder to get on. Let's see how it looks in here. So this just goes in here like that. So I'm just gonna stick it on this far edge. Just like that, and then the other side, same thing. Just like so. And then that slides right in here. And you can just push her down where those stickies are. Just like that. So this guy comes in here. Okay, so with everything seated in here, we're just gonna put the 2 screws back. You know, I always gotta keep saying, just snug, because this old stuff is fragile. But man, it's looking good. So we'll do a little B-roll so you can see what the illumination looks like, because the warning indicators are hidden until they're illuminated. And then we're just gonna clean this up a little bit. But yeah, that's all looking good. Alignment's looking bang on. So next piece here is we're gonna take the needles with us, get into the truck. I'll show you how to set up your needles properly, and then we'll take it out one more time and do the final assembly here. So we'll take the needles and we'll jump into the truck. Okay, so same drill as before, only we're gonna plug everything in this time. So we got our first clip. So what I'd recommend here, so you don't got to do this a billion times, is make sure everything's seated, sitting down right. I put these bottom 2 screws in, put the truck in park. I wouldn't worry about hooking this up yet. And I would just turn the truck over and play with the needles. So I wouldn't push the needles down all the way. Obviously, speedometer, if the truck is turned over, is going to be reading 0. So I just turned it onto accessory for now. Just a little needle on. I'm just going to put it on lightly. The tack, obviously, it's not turned on right now, so it should be reading 0. Battery, hot and cold. If the truck hasn't been running, it's probably going to be on cold. This will probably be reading low. And then your fuel, again, you're gonna adjust for fuel. Now I'm just gonna turn the key off, and you can see that this guy moved. So realistically, you're gonna turn it on, crank her over. See, this moved. So this should be probably sitting closer to normal. Turn off, turn on. So we got that working. So you would start the truck up, play with these, go for a rip around the block, make sure your speedometer is moving the way it's supposed to, make some adjustments. Don't be making adjustments while you're driving. We don't need no lawsuits. And then when you're happy with how the needles are, you can really push them down. And then pop these 2 screws out. You can get out of the truck, put everything back together. Okay, so once you've polished your lens out, it should be looking really good. And clean this guy up. So make sure your needles are, again, you don't want to put everything together and you have your speedometer needle on the other side. And you know, any little fingerprints, little specks of dust, clean that all up. Because this is the last time you're seeing it, about to touch it. So I'm gonna put that in. And I'm gonna just put in the 2 little screws. Little T10s. One here. And you might just want to prop it up like this, just using a towel on the back, because you don't want, obviously, the needles to do that when you get the glass hole on and the lens on. So we're gonna have it sit like that. Get your polished out lens or new lens. Just sits over there like so. And again, I'm gonna say it again, but just snug these up. They do not need to be tight. These things crack all the time from guys just going to town, tightening these things. So that's that. So we'll go put her in the truck, get it installed, button everything up and see how it looks. Really important, you got this beautifully polished lens. We do not want to scratch this thing putting it in. So I like to lay a towel over it because the top has to go in first. So this guy, leave that down. Let's get this back one plugged in. Okay. Take my towel off. I'm gonna snake this guy around. Let's put the 4 screws back in. And before you do that, again, you can test everything before you get too far in, just to make sure, again, everything's sitting right. Before you button everything up, it's better to check a couple times than not check at all. So feel free to do that. Just snug it up. So if you guys are gonna do this, do it snug. So now, again, this is gonna be hard to see, but we're just gonna loop this over that little ring. So I got this all the way down. Again, always make sure your e-brake is on. I know some of you guys are gonna be hitting up the driveway doing this, so. All right. So I like to pull it out a little bit, and then you'll see that little nub, and I use my other hand from above just to loop it on, just like that. And then we're gonna bolt this on. But just snug. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this thing back in drive. I'm gonna show you guys how to adjust this. So there's a little dial right here that you can actually adjust the play in here. So for example, this has got to be tightened up. So I'm just gonna turn this gear away from me to the right, and it will bring the needle back to the left. I'm just gonna make sure, like park, for example, make sure she looks good in reverse, neutral, drive, come back a little bit more yet. So I'm just gonna, like that, looks pretty good. Park, reverse, neutral, drive. So you can see that's way more aligned than it was. So you can make those little micro adjustments there. Boy, that looks good, bro. Let's get the rest of this put together. Yeah, we're just gonna put this guy back on and put the 2 little screws. Snug. Snug. Okay, now I'm gonna pull this back down, put the key in. And you kind of want to go like this, get it around the, it's kind of coming in this way, and then we'll turn her over like this. And before you get too far, you obviously don't forget to plug in your fuel switch. So you'll plug this guy back in. And then this guy pushes down a little bit. Slide her in. I also like to wash this, you know, like clean up this panel. These get pretty crusty in there. And again, if you have a diesel, before you put this all on, you're gonna, if you want to change this out, again, I don't have a diesel, I'm not 100% sure. We just modeled it after the stock part. That goes like that. That looks good. Put the clips there. That looks good. So I'm just gonna pull this guy out, put my knob back on. Like that. Just gonna go back up. And then we got our 2 screws here. Okay, so this side's done. We'll hop to the HVAC controls and we'll get those installed. Okay guys, so for the HVAC controls, we pulled this trim out. We're gonna take these are T20s, I believe. And again, you can see how mangled this one is over the years. It's been busted and repaired and busted again. So those off, then there's clips. This one's busted, but 2 clips there. First, I'm gonna show you how to update the LED bulbs, and then we'll come back. So it's basically, there's 4 screws. So this is the only part of the kit that really isn't reversible. Once you take this panel off, it's wrecked. They used a different process to make these panels, these overlays, than they did with the dash. This guy will just slide out, and it's gonna be hard to see here, but right here, there's a bulb socket there. We're just gonna turn that, and then on the other side, underneath, there's one right here. So there's 2. So we're just gonna pop those out. Take the old bulb out, put the new bulb in. Again, if you buy the dash light or the LED upgrade from us, we include extra bulbs, so you'll have enough to also do this. But if you're just buying the HVAC panel, then there's an option to purchase an additional 2 bulbs. Just for this, if you've already upgraded the other stuff. But then we'll get the top one. So that guy just pops out. Put the new one in. And that guy just goes in there. Puts it into place, and then we'll just make sure that before we button it up, that it works. So that's the old stuff with the new bulb. Put our screws in. Okay, so that done. These knobs, they just pop out. Go give those a good cleaning. And this panel here, you can use a heat gun. Either way, it's gonna be wrecked. Just how they made them. It's full adhesive on the back. Just get a corner started here. So this is one and done. That's the old one. We're just gonna clean up this glue with some ISO and clean up those knobs. So let me grab that. Just put a little bit on the rag. And this is where obviously everything lights up. So the cleaner that is as well, the better off you're gonna be. Just gonna flip the towel around, grab the screwdriver, and just lightly, gently clean in there, just because it got some of that glue in there. And it's looking a little black. We don't want the illumination coming through like that. So that's basically what you want to do. And now we're going to grab the new panel. And again, we've got some sticky dots. Realistically, I would put maybe one here, one here, one here, maybe one here. If that, I mean, yeah, 3 is plenty. You don't need to go overkill because they are super sticky. So anytime you put more sticky on, the more chance you have when you go to take it off, or if you want to readjust it, the more issues you're going to have. So in this case, I'm just going to put one in this corner, one in this corner, and we'll get it all lined up. So let me peel this back. And I always stick it to where I want it here. So I'm going to get just this lined up. I'm just looking at the circle, middle circle, and the edges. So I'm making sure this is aligned and this edge is aligned. And if that's aligned, then I know the rest is going to be aligned. And then I'm going to stick down that little corner. And so everything else is aligned. Then I'm going to come back with that second sticky dot. And throw it on like that. Perfect. Now we got these switches. So having a really thin screwdriver, something really pointy, you're just gonna push this insert out, just like that. It'll pop right out. Just like that. And I like to, at this point, use a little bit of that ISO and just clean up them knobs a little bit. Looks good. And then I'm gonna grab the new switches that we include, these clear guys, and we're gonna seat that in there. And then I'm just gonna take that screwdriver, I'm just gonna push it in nice and firm, just like that. And then that guy can go on. You know, something to note, like we make all this stuff in-house. We mold our own switches. All the clusters are designed and made in-house. We test them for illumination and fitment before going out to make sure everything is like 100% accurate. And you can see there's a little nub here. And so, you know, you gotta put, the switch can't go in this way. It's gotta go in, there's only one way to put them in. And then you just really wanna make sure you're pushing them down into that slot, just like that. These things can get pretty grimy over the years, that's for sure. Grab our last switch insert, throw it in, just like that. So that goes in there, clips in first. Yeah, I think we might need to make these trim pieces like a polished aluminum or something. Get matching ones for the door, because this one's gonna have to be repaired. Our stereo goes back in, and that's all done. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you have any questions, reach out. We appreciate all your support thus far, and we're super excited. I think these things look fantastic. Big difference, and I'm glad we really took our time to do them right. I know you guys have been super patient, for some of you guys that have been on this waiting list for quite a while here, but even compared to the versions we had before. Like you can see the hidden illuminators, and we'll show on the screen what they look like when they're bright versus off. And I think it was well worth the wait, and we're super particular and we're super fussy about the products we put out. So it's important to us that we're doing and making the best quality products, because we know they're not cheap, and you guys take a lot of pride in your vehicles. So with that being said, definitely subscribe if you haven't. We've got some pretty cool mods we're working on right now. It's going to be a little ways out, but I think they'll be pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out, and we hope you enjoy your kit.